for the best sports show on the planet. Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the court. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, then listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're After Dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzz beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is up, Man Hour Nation? Michael Buckhauscher here with the Man Hour. Head over to manhourradio.com and check out the merchandise page. And we do got new merch out there. BC Merch is live. manhourradio.com. Check it out. Use promo code BEASTIE at checkout to save yourself some bills, y'all. And that is what we're all about. We're about saving you guys money here at manhourradio.com. And, of course, helping us support the show and making us grow, making it the best damn sports show on the planet, as Mr. Combs himself likes to say each and every show. I try to pick up Combs' slack when he's not here, but he just says it so damn good, and just I miss that guy on a daily basis. But he will be MIA tonight. He is out of town for work. So you guys got myself here for the first 30 minutes here on the Man Hour tonight. But then at 8:30 East Coast time, we do have the one and only Graham Wallace tonight at Bus Wallace on the old Twitter machine, bringing his weekly NFL power rankings. He does all 32 NFL teams, and he does a great job. So we will be breaking down the top 10 for you guys tonight. So Bus Wallace on the Twitter machine, guys, be sure to give him a follow. That's BUS Wallace. Bus like the short bus, but he doesn't ride the short bus. He's a very intelligent individual. He also writes for Jay's Journal, which is, big things over there. So he's a baseball writer, dabbling into the NFL world, and he's doing a great job. We do got a great show for you guys lined up tonight. We do got Spilled Soup coming up here in hour number 2. That's right, the Soup Boss himself will be here at 9 o'clock East Coast time to spill some soup for us. Soup Boss has been quite the staple here on the Man Hour for the last, couple weeks or so, bringing us some hot takes and challenging us on our opinions and everything else. And I expect nothing less from him moving forward. We do got some people jumping in the chat here. What's up, Drew? If you guys see that little Man Hour symbol right next to Drew's name, it's because he is a member here. So be sure to head over to manhourradio.com and become a member right here on Man Hour. But it is time to get into some sports talks, guys. We are going to dabble into something again that I really don't want to dabble into, because it is very, very heartbreaking on this whole situation. But if you guys were listening to the show last night, you guys know that Henry Ruggs was arrested for felony DUI, resulting into a death, and then also I believe it was reckless driving as well. More details have came out about that situation, and the one detail that really perked my ears, like, wait a second, he was driving 156 miles an hour at the time of impact when he hit that car. 156 miles an hour. So I was listening to the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and they had people out there in Vegas that live on that in that area, and they said it is almost damn near impossible to get up to over 100 miles an hour on that road where he was at. So be doing 156 miles an hour, absolutely ridiculous, absolutely pointless. I mean, really, let's just be honest. Anything over 85, it's stupid, right? I mean, why do you have to be going that fast to get to where you're going, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning? Then the second part that we all kind of knew it was coming was he was over the legal limit because he was impaired at the scene of the crash, and obviously took him in. But this is 2 hours after the fact that the wreck happened, and they did a blood alcohol content, and it was 0.161. That is over double the legal limit that is allowed in most of the United States of America. Some states are at a 0.06, if I'm not mistaken. And if you have a CDL, it's like 0.02 or 0.01. So for him to be over double the legal limit, driving 156 miles an hour, he is going to get everything that he deserves in this court of law. So I said it last night that, you know, he'll probably get like 18 months and a slap on the wrist and then get out for good behavior or whatever, right? After all this has come out of how fast he was going, how stupid he was being behind the wheel of that car, he better get 20 plus years. There is absolutely no freaking reason why he should be out anything less than 20 years. Now, I see people in these forums that I'm a part of on Facebook and the trash talk groups and TikTok and everything else. People are legitimately defending this young man. They are saying that he has too much money and the NFL needs to mentor these guys more. Are you guys freaking serious? They need to mentor these guys more? He is a man at this point. Hell, when you turn 14 years old, you know not to drink and drive. I mean, it's common fucking sense. Like at this point, do not drink and drive. And then but when you guys start to defend him, that pisses me off even more because, oh, he is young, he doesn't know no better. He's 22 years old. He is making what, $7 million. He has to know better at this point. He spent time at Alabama. I mean, he has been in the public spotlight since he was probably 17 years old, being a top recruit, being a wide receiver at Alabama, the arguably the best college program out there. You know do's and don'ts. You go through classes of what to do, what not to do. So for you guys to defend this man is absolutely asinine. And then I read reports last night that he was going to, quote, get off on this stuff because the person that he hit was illegal. They weren't here legally. Well, it turns out this young woman and her dog was residents in the Las Vegas area. They were from that subdivision that they got killed in, and they burned to death. That's what happened. I mean, probably the impact of the crash probably messed them up pretty damn bad, doing 156 miles an hour, hitting you and destroying your SUV, making it look like a freaking Ford Focus, right? I mean, absolutely crazy that. But guys, you guys are absolutely stupid to be defending this guy. Absolutely stupid to be defending this guy. When I first read that, I'm like, okay, let due process happens, right? Maybe he was doing like 60 and like a 40 and just hit the car just right, and maybe he looked impaired because, you know, he just killed a person in a fiery crash, maybe. But now all that due process is happened. There is no need to drag this out for 3 to 4 years to go through all this legal obligation bullshit. Put his ass in jail. First things first, he should have never been granted bond. No way whatsoever. He killed a per person. He was drunk. He should be in jail right now. He should not be home in his $1 million home living life and probably drinking more beers and popping up on pain pills, right? No reason he should be out of jail. Due process of this whole situation, throw that out the window. Lawyers figure this out, put this man in jail for 20 years, let him start serving it, and maybe by the time he is 40, he will think, man, I really messed up. But probably not going to happen because, I'm probably sticking to it, guys. 18 months tops, slap on the wrist, probation. So Alpha Rob, big shout out to you, man, for being in here tonight. He says he is a grown damn man. Yeah, he definitely is a grown damn man, and he should definitely know from right or wrong. Alpha Rob also says they teach you not to drive, not to drink and drive from a kid. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was like, 13, 14 years old, I started going to parties with like my friends and driving to these parties. My mom would be like, hey, do not drink and drive. If you ever need a ride, simply just call me and I'll be there to pick you up. This was back when it cost you like 99 cents to call on a cell phone, and my dad was pissed every time I would make a call, right? But even back then, I mean, I'm not that old, but back then, we had means of getting home. You are in Las Vegas. You have money in your bank account. So this is one other thing that people were saying when they were trying to defend this man. Well, maybe he didn't have his credit card or whatever, yada, yada, yada. Well, he had his iPhone, right? So when you download Lyft or Uber for the first time onto your phone, you get a free ride. Did you guys know that? So when you download Uber or Lyft, they will give you a free ride the first time you download it. Also, if you are getting picked up from a bar or somewhere that involves alcohol, they will also cover that cost of the ride as well. Zero freaking excuse to be doing what he was doing there. It's zero excuse. So guys, stop defending this young man. He's stupid. He's dumb. And he cost a person their life for doing absolutely nothing wrong, but besides driving at 3 o'clock in the morning with their dog in the backyard, and they got burned to death. Wow. Come on. Stop defending this fool. So moving on here, guys, moving on. Some of the biggest breaking news that has come out besides the whole Henry Ruggs thing is Aaron Rodgers has tested positive for COVID-19 this afternoon. Here on Wednesday afternoon, he tested positive for COVID-19, and he is going to miss the Sunday matchup versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I have heard reports, I've read reports, and I've been people hitting up me in the DMs as well. They were saying that, what's the word I'm looking for? Aaron Rodgers lied. So apparently Aaron Rodgers lied about getting his vaccine. So earlier in the season when the whole NFL was kind of pushing the vaccine mandate and like all this stuff, right? Aaron Rodgers must have said that, yeah, I got my vaccine, but deep down he probably didn't get it. And it turns out he did not get his vaccine. How do we know that? Because if he would have his vaccine, he would be able to play on Sunday. Because I believe even if you test positive for COVID and you have the vaccine, you are able to perform back to regular duties within like 3 days or something crazy to that effect. At least that's what it is like at my work. I think it's 2 to 3 days. If you have the vaccine, you are able to come back and do what you need to do. He obviously is going to be out for Sunday, and we are going to see how bad the Green Bay Packers are without Aaron Rodgers on the field. We saw them how bad they were in the preseason, but now it is regular season here. The Kansas City Chiefs might be coming back on track a little bit. They've added some depth at linebacker. They traded for what's his name from the Steelers. They picked up some depth at the tight end position as well. So maybe the Kansas City Chiefs are moving right in the right direction, and this is just the game they need. Or it's going to show you how great the Green Bay Packers are and how much they don't need Aaron Rodgers. So this is kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't for the Green Bay Packers moving forward. Because let's say they beat the Kansas City Chiefs and Jordan Love plays well. Like, you know what? We don't really need Aaron Rodgers moving forward. We have Jordan Love. Or if Jordan Love shits the bed, right, they say, well, we have room to build around Jordan Love, yada, yada, yada. We're missing pieces here, or there. Or also, this is a heavy quarterback class going into the 2022 draft. So maybe they draft, they draft a quarterback possibly as well. So it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. But Aaron Rodgers will be out Sunday versus the Kansas City Chiefs because of the COVID protocol things. He did test positive, and he was also contact traced, so that's why they tested him. So I did see a comment from Alpha Rob here. Let me wrote that. Was that just the same comment again? Yeah, Mr. Wallace says Melvin Ingram is the linebacker that they got from the Steelers. Thank you for that. Did you guys see that quote that Mike Tomlin said? Something about like, we would rather have you volunteer play here than force you to play here, or something to that effect. Is Mike Tomlin not the best one-liner person out there, like hands down? Like I freaking love Mike Tomlin simply because he just tells you like how it is. There's no sugarcoating around whatsoever. All right, guys. So we are up against the first break here on the Man Hour. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, we do have Graham Wallace himself at Boss Wallace on the Twitter machine, bringing us his NFL Power Rankings, Week 9 Power Rankings. Hour number 2 on the Man Hour. We do have the one and only Soup Boss with some spilled soup. He has been watch some videos all day, gathering information to come attack me without my stupid takes, I guess. But nonetheless, guys, Spilled Soup coming up, NFL Power Rankings, and on the other side of the break, we're going to talk Odell Beckham Jr. Surprise, 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 that trash of a man. We'll be right back, guys. That shit is must-see TV.
Yeah, look, the Bengals are going to be good. Joe Burrow is going to be must-watch TV. Other than the divisional games, I would circle that Week 5 game against the Green Bay Packers. That could be a game I could absolutely see the Cincinnati Bengals hanging in there. Maybe even bringing this game to overtime. That could be a fun one to watch. Burrows versus Rodgers, the future versus the current, and and then you look at games like, against the New York Jets in Week 8. That's another one. Look, I know a lot of people are like, what do you mean the Jets? Look, I like what's going on in New York. I like Zach Wilson. I like Robert Saleh. I think that team is going to start to change its culture, and I think it started with Robert Saleh, and it continued with the draft of Zach Wilson. I think they're going to be a better team, so this could actually be a really fun game to watch in Week 8. So those would be the two games, outside of the divisional games that I would absolutely circle.
Yeah, so the game that I have circled, the biggest game of the season, is a division game, unfortunately, but is that Week 7 game, is when the Bengals go into Baltimore. They play Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I think this is a statement game for Cincinnati. They are going to go into Baltimore, and they are going to beat them, let's say 17-14 as the final score to that game. But I think this is where we see Joe Burrow kind of put the staple on the whole NFL. It's like, hey, don't overlook me. Yeah, you have Herbert. Yeah, you have Trevor and Zach and like all those and Baker and Patty, but don't overlook me. I am here to stay. I am here to rock this division and rock the AFC as a whole. And with that being said, I do have them going 7-10 this year, but simply because they do kind of have a stunner of a schedule. I mean, they obviously do play the Ravens twice, they play the Steelers twice, obviously, but the out of division games is rough. They play the Chiefs, they play the Chargers, they play the 49ers, the Ravens. Heck, they even play a good Green Bay team. So I mean, that is the only reason why I have them 10 losses on the year, but I do have them going 7-10.
Yeah, I have them at 8-9. I have them right around there. And I see the comments coming through. Nobody believes in this team. Drew doesn't believe in this team. Suplock doesn't believe in this team. Suplock says it's because they did nothing to improve their own line, so that's they're going to continue to see. Look, I like Rodgers. I like Jordan Williams. I like Curtis Spain. Trey Hopkins. These guys are cool. And I think they're going to get good play out of them. There's been a lot of injuries in Cincinnati, and not only Joe Burrows, Quentin Spain was hurt last year. Jonah Williams.
This year that is must see. And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buckcoster here with the manhourradio.com. Be sure to head over there, check out the merchandise page, and of course, check out the new forum section as well, as we are starting the forums over there as well. You can trash talk, you can share memes, you can share your other podcasts over there as well. So be sure to jump over there, have a good time, and all that good stuff. But it is time to talk a little bit about Odell Beckham Jr., guys. So the trade deadline of the NFL obviously was yesterday afternoon, November 2nd, Tuesday. I believe that's ended at 4 p.m. East Coast time. But with that being said, the Cleveland Browns did not move away from Odell Beckham Jr. as I thought they were, and many other people thought they were going to speculate and move from him as well. But obviously they did not. But then it was a little after the trade deadline, or a little before the trade deadline, Odell Beckham's Instagram was on fire. He said something on the lines of, "F this team, I am out." Quickly deleted it 5 minutes later, so his agent must have seen it, or something, or the ownership, or something happened. But now reports are starting to surface that the Cleveland Browns and Odell Beckham Jr. are going to basically be parting ways sooner than later. So if you guys look at some of the stats for Odell Beckham Jr., since he has been in Cleveland, he's been okay. I mean, let's just be flat out honest. Now, his first season, he did play a full 16 games. He had 1,000 yards receiving, just under 10 yards per catch. However, he did drop a lot of balls, which is very unlike Odell Beckham Jr.'s, right? He had 10% of drops that particular season. And then obviously last season in 2020, he tore his ACL, week 7 or week 8? I can't remember for sure, but he ended up didn't play in 7 games, but he only had 313 yards catching, and it just was not very good. He was averaging what? It was basically 6 yards per catch. This year, he is still on pace for that 319 yards. He has played 6 games. He obviously missed week 1. He has 23 yards, averaging 5.5 catches per game with a drop rate of 9%. So every pass that comes his way, he has a 9% chance of dropping that pass. What has been the biggest thing for Odell Beckham Jr.? He has the best hands in the NFL, right? He can catch anything. Guys, Odell Beckham Jr. has been the most overrated receiver in all of NFL. So all you people saying that he is a top 15 quarterback, yada yada, or a wide receiver, just stop it. What has Odell Beckham Jr. done besides the catch? I'll wait. Has he led the Giants to a Super Bowl? Has he led the Giants to a playoff win? Has he led his team in receiving since he's left the Giants? No, he hasn't. Why? Because he is a good number 2 receiver that will pull, the safety down to just because of his speed and size to go over the middle. But since he's been this drama queen proposing to the kicking tee and doing his hair, and he has been a complete dumpster fire. He might be more of a mental head case than Antonio Brown was when he went to the Las Vegas Raiders and then the Patriots and then the Bucks and then he got fired. Odell Beckham Jr., guys, to stop putting so much respect on this guy's name. Now, I did see a tweet earlier today that he is the 14th highest paid wide receiver ever in the NFL, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. I mean, he is in the on-field money as like with Terrell Owens, Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, all those guys. He is making just as much money as like all those guys did on the field. And that is absolutely stupid when you think about it. He hasn't done shit for you. Cleveland Brown fans, stop saying, "Oh, we want to keep Odell." Why do you want to keep Odell? When Odell Beckham Jr. isn't on the field, look what you guys did in 2020. You guys look like a damn good football team. Hell, you made it to the playoffs without Odell Beckham Jr. Since Odell Beckham Jr. and Landry Jones have been on the field together, you guys have dropped like 3 games in a row. Hell, I mean, come on. Something isn't adding up here. Stop it with the Odell Beckham Jr. Stop it. Now, he will get picked up by some team. Let's say he goes to the Green Bay Packers. He will definitely help the Green Bay Packers because he will not be the guy. He will not be a number 2 receiver. Hell, he may not even be a number 3 receiver on that team. He has the leadership of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers will tell him to sit down and shut the fuck up. That's what Odell Jr. needs. He needs somebody to smack him in his face like, dude, you are not this prima donna. You fucking suck. You are here to catch the damn ball. Have you guys seen that little video with Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning's like, Jeff, your job is to block. Just block. I call the plays, you block. That's what Odell Beckham Jr. needs. Odell Beckham Jr., your job is to run the route and catch the ball. Nothing else. But as you guys know, that is never just the case over here, and because Odell Beckham Jr. needs to propose to a kicking tee twice more. But we do have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Graham Wallace, joining us tonight with his NFL Power Rankings. What's going on, Graham? Yeah, obviously, guys, work is piling up for me right now, so I didn't have time to tweet all 32 NFL teams be the bottom 16 that we usually do, but some of the teams that are kind of down there, that are kind of like, well, maybe they shouldn't really deserve to be down there. Maybe number 23, you have the Seattle Seahawks. Now the Seahawks are without Russ. They did play. They did win. Was it Thursday night? Was it Thursday night or Sunday night that they played? I can't remember. Okay, yeah. So they did win that game with Geno Smith. Are the Seahawks are you sleeping on the Seahawks a little bit here? Number 23 seems a little low.
closely before I send it to you, but looking at it now, I could probably have them maybe 21 or maybe even 20. They're 3-5 though.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I believe they're off this week. They have their bye week, which is perfect because Russell Wilson is targeting a Week 10 return.
Mm-hmm.
3-5 is still a bit of a hole to dig themselves out of. So I think I'll kind of eat that one. I think I could maybe have them closer to that 20 spot. But Geno Smith really doesn't inspire a ton of confidence. I mean, he looked good on Sunday against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
A lot of teams look good against that team, but they've definitely got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and then one team that you had moving way up in the ranks here, the Philadelphia Eagles, after that beatdown of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions that will not be going 11-7 this year. I just want to point that out. It's 10-7. The Eagles are sitting at number 24. Do you have any faith of the Eagles that they could possibly put something together and make a top 20 push?
Not really. I mean, I think it just shows just how far off Detroit is. I mean, if you think about how close they came to beating the Ravens, the competitive first half they had against the Green Bay Packers, the good second half they had in the first game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers. That seems like a century ago. This team is not even close to being competitive, and the Eagles aren't good. And I think that the moments that Jalen Hurts has that kind of inspires the Bird Gang to kind of get excited are too few and far between. I think they will be shopping for a quarterback this spring, and I think I don't think he's done quite enough to kind of ward off free agency, and it's supposed to be not a great quarterback draft, but we'll see about that. Eagles, I just don't think that they're quite there yet. They'll probably win maybe about 7 games or so, I'm thinking. But yeah, I think that said more about the Lions.
Okay, so last week I had Wayne G on here. He always brings the topics here every Thursday to talk about what might be a debatable topic and what not might be a debatable topic here. And I want to bring up your Browns here because you have them at number 15 here, and I just spoke how bad Odell Beckham Jr. is for this team. Wayne G said that Baker Mayfield is not a starter on any other team in the NFL besides the Houston Texans if he were to leave Cleveland. Do you agree with that at all?
I don't agree with that. I'll also point out that they're not my Browns.
Well,
I did rank them in my power rankings, but no, I don't know if I really agree with that. He'd probably be the starter in Miami. He'd probably be the starter in Philadelphia. Trying to think of some other teams with some shaky quarterbacks. He'd probably be the starter in Jacksonville. I mean, I know they have Trevor Lawrence, but he's not playing well at all right now. Detroit, probably about 10 teams or so where he could start. Now, I'm not saying Baker Mayfield's a great quarterback because he hasn't played that way this year, certainly. But he's a decent one, and he could certainly find himself starting for, about 10 teams or so, I'd say.
Okay. So, if you guys want the complete list, I will post it on Facebook and Twitter throughout the day tomorrow. But coming in at number 10, you do have the Baltimore Ravens. Talk to me about them.
Yeah, they were idle this week. They're still 5-2, I believe, still in pretty good shape, even despite that kind of beatdown they took at the hands of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're getting their bye at the right time. Kind of get healthy again, kind of refocus for the final 10 games of the season. Pretty close to halfway point of the season in this new weird 17-game season. The defense has been kind of inconsistent. I like what I've seen from the downfield passing attack when they do decide to throw it downfield. And the run game's been solid as usual. With Lamar Jackson, he's such a factor back there with the RPOs. It's going to make the linebackers a little bit anxious and usually open up some holes. So I still think this is a contender in the AFC. They've fallen off a little bit from, I think they reached a high of number 3, but I still think this is a team that's going to be there towards the end. And they're definitely a battle-tested, John Harbaugh, tough team.
Right. Yeah. So speaking of the Bengals here, you actually did fall. You dropped them out of your top 10 down to number 11. I believe you had number 7 or 8 last week, if I'm not mistaken. So just take that as you will. I mean, obviously the loss to the Jets suck, but are the Bengals still for real?
I still like this team. I think they're a little bit ahead of schedule as far as, if you think about the last couple of years, I think they won 2 and 5 games respectively. They're already at that 5-win mark now. I think they could possibly double down and maybe get to 10 wins, but it's going to be tough down the stretch. I believe in Joe Burrow. I like Joe Mixon. The defense has looked really good. Obviously, Jamar Chase has been outstanding.
Mhm.
You know, just give him Rookie of the Year now. It was a really tough call. I don't know how much of this game you saw, Buck, but the lowering the crown of the helmet on a crucial, I believe it was a 3rd and 11 play for
Yeah.
the Jets, and they weren't even close to converting it. I think it was actually the ball carrier who initiated the contact. Really tough call against the Bengals. Would they have come back and tied the game or won it? Who knows? But that was definitely a bit of a shaky defensive performance, giving up over 400 passing yards to Mike White. Maybe this guy's going to be a sensation. Who knows? He went undrafted out of, I believe, Central Michigan. So who really knows? But I think it was just more of a bit of a slight setback for the Bengals rather than they have to be searching for answers. I still think they're in the mix of some of the best teams in the AFC.
Right. And if you listen to the Man Hour last night, Tor Anderson said that Mike White was better than Zach Wilson, and the Jets will win more games with him. So take that as you will. So at number 10, you did have the Baltimore Ravens. Coming in at number 9, you do have the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, we obviously know what happened with the rug staying in, like whatnot. You have these rankings out before that all happened. Would the Raiders still be in your top 10 with rug, looking at the hindsight now?
I think I'd probably have them around there. I mean, this is a really tough thing for a team to go through, and they've been through a lot as a team already with the Gruden situation. Now, I don't mean to phrase this in a way that what happened with Henry Ruggs Jr. is tough for the team. I mean, it's hard when a teammate of yours makes a poor decision like that and ends up costing someone their life. And it, as far as his football career is concerned, I don't even want to talk about that because that's very secondary in some of the issues that are happening. Can this team rally around the crazy things that have happened already this season? I'm not sure. That I really like what I've seen in the couple games they've played under Rich Bisaccia. I'm still like saying that guy's name. But this is going to be a real tough one. Ruggs, speaking of him strictly as a football player, was they like to use him on the outside as a burner. They wouldn't play him every snap, but they would use him in specialty situations, and he was really excelling in that role. And they're going to need to, I'd say, lean more on guys like Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, Brian Edwards. So they're going to have more of a diversified attack. Look to see that two-headed monster of Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake utilized a bit more as well.
Yeah, and just a general rule of thumb here, it is week 8 going into week 9 of the NFL season. This is when the Raiders do collapse. So right on cue, they're probably going to collapse with some unfortunate events, unfortunately. So coming in at number 8, you do have the Saints. Even without Jameson, you still have them, without James, you still have them at number 8.
Famous Jameis. Yeah, it was funny. I was watching that game, and I must have missed the part when he got kind of corkscrewed down and hurt his knee. And I'm like, who's playing quarterback? Is that Taysom Hill? I'm like, oh, he looks kind of skinnier. Trevor Siemian. I didn't even know this guy was still in the league.
Right.
Obviously, he was a late round pick. We kind of thought he was going to be the heir apparent to Peyton Manning. We thought he was going to be the next guy to take over that job after he retired. He had some nice moments for the Broncos, but it just never really ended up working out. I don't think the team around him was really quite good enough to support a young kind of developing passer. He also definitely made some mistakes along the way as well. But he played really well in that game, and he won a game when the opposing quarterback was Tom Brady, and he entered that game with 43 minutes to go, Buck. So it wasn't like he came in mop-up duty and got the win. So he definitely had to make some throws. Are they going to bring in a veteran? I think they should. I heard something about Phillip Rivers would listen if they talk. I have another one to throw out there. How about Josh McCown? I know this guy's in his 40s, but he would be a really good kind of veteran leadership type of guy. He could make a few passes as well if you needed him to. But it seems like they're going to need to do something about as far as finding another body in their quarterback room. Taysom Hill's going to be in the mix also.
Right.
But he's coming off a concussion, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yeah, he's been out for
they're
3 or
going
4 weeks with the concussion too, so it's a bad one.
yeah, the news about Michael Thomas isn't great either. They're going to have to lean on guys like Alvin Kamara and that defense, which has been really solid. But I like what I've seen over the last couple of weeks. 5-2, they're in a pretty good position in the NFC.
Yeah, and just to add to your point a little bit here, I feel like if the Saints were going to bring in a veteran quarterback to like take that spot of Jameis, they would have maybe entertained some veteran quarterbacks out in the trade market per se. Maybe Chad Henne is still a backup at Kansas City, right? And there's some other things. Joe Flacco, I do know the Jets just picked him up, but you offer them the right thing, a 5th round pick, right, to give them a little bit more incentive. I mean, you never really know, but you just do still have the Saints coming in at number 8, and coming in at number 7, you have the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, it was a bit of a struggle for them against the Miami Dolphins, which has not been the case the last few times they played them. Obviously, they beat them 35-0 earlier this season, and then they blew them out in the season finale going back to last year. But they kind of had a tough time getting out of the gates in this game. To their credit, the Dolphins did play hard. Their defense was kind of swarming the line, but eventually Josh Allen and co. kind of broke out of that, and they were able to pull away. So not a terribly impressive win, but you got to beat the teams in front of you. They improved to 5-2. They just got to keep piling up W's. They're in a stretch of their schedule when they're playing some teams that are struggling right now. They're up against Jacksonville next week. So they've just got to maintain their focus and focus on just playing good football, executing their game plan, and not getting caught up in the other nonsense. So I think they'll continue to inch their way up, but they can't have any stumbles against these weaker opponents.
Yeah, I mean, you are 100% correct there. You basically just got to beat the teams that are in front of you, and the Bills need to basically win out to, keep flexing on the NFL. Let's just be flat and honest. Speaking of injuries, King Henry is like, he went down for a foot injury. He had a surgery on Tuesday. You do have the Tennessee Titans coming at number 6 with a win over the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Titans at 6. Explain to me why.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen from this team the last 3 weeks. Going back to that Monday night win over the Bills, they definitely weren't executing the way they want to. Mike Vrabel was kind of losing his mind, but they were able to turn things around in that game. They completely shut down the Kansas City Chiefs 2 weeks ago, and then last week against the Titans, they are the Titans, against the Colts, even when they were down 14-0, when Tannehill threw that ball to A.J. Brown, he turned the corner, was able to avoid the defender and went down the sidelines. I just had a feeling, Titans are going to find a way to win this game. Of course, Wentz coughs it up with that brutal interception towards the end of the game and, pretty much hands the game back to the Titans. I know they were able to tie the game, but he threw another interception in overtime, which just coughed it up. He's starting to look like the last year's Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz. He's starting to look a bit better, but so I like what I've seen from this team. They're finding different ways to win. Now, obviously, losing King Henry is a big blow, but I love them signing Adrian Peterson. I know he's 48 years old or whatever he is, but he's the exact same type of runner, powerful runner, but still he's got that top end speed. I don't know how much he's got left. You'd think maybe they'd go with someone a little bit younger, but I like the boldness of the move, and they're going to mix in some other backs as well. So I think this is a kind of a battle-tested team who takes on the personality of Mike Vrabel, their coach, and they're in the mix there in the AFC.
Yeah, you are absolutely 100% correct. I mean, they obviously are the best team in the AFC South right now. But this is also the year of the 36-year-old running back as well. I mean, Murray's been signed. Now Adrian Peterson's been signed. Now the only person left to get signed is Frank Gore. So maybe he gets signed with the Kansas City Chiefs so he can play with his cousin or something like that, right? I don't know.
There you go.
But I'm totally kidding. But coming in at number 5, this is the only real eyebrow-raising team that I have so far that has kind of like jumped out at me. You have the Dallas Cowboys coming in at number 5. You do realize that the Dallas Cowboys are the best team in the NFL, right?
I'm not quite there with you, Buck. I know you've been kind of hammering that drum, and I hear it. I'm kind of pounding along with you somewhere in the background. Remember those bands that had 2 drums, like
Yeah.
Slipknot and stuff like that? I'm
Right.
kind of somewhere off in the background, pounding away. I really like this team. I thought it was a gritty performance by Cooper Rush. Hey, it was backup week this past
Right.
weekend, Buck. We had Mike White, Cooper Rush doing his thing. We even had PJ Walker kind of getting the save for Carolina there. But I just think the thing that impresses me the most of this team is their defense. Trayvon Diggs and Micah Parsons are 2 of the heavy hitters, definitely on this defense. Leighton Vander Esch is another guy that kind of comes to mind. They held this Vikings offense very much in check. And Cooper Rush kind of made the throws when he had to. Obviously, they're hoping they could get Dak Prescott back sooner rather than later. The other guy that's really stood out for me on this Cowboys team is Tony Pollard. He doesn't really seem to care how many carries he gets, how many catches he makes. He's a bit more effective in the running game, I'd say, than Ezekiel Elliott. He just kind of keeps playing, showing up, and being a really productive member of this team. He doesn't make the same amount of money as Elliott. He doesn't have the same high profile that he does, but he just keeps getting the job done for the boys.
Yeah, so we do have some Cowboys fans out here in the chat, and like Bill Yates says that the Dallas Cowboys can run with anybody in the NFL, and I do agree with you, like on that. But they did lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers week 1 of the NFL season. That's who you have coming in at number 4, fresh off a loss versus the Saints.
Yeah, Saints really seem to have their number in the regular season. That's 3 straight losses to the Saints. The Bucs have suffered. Obviously, they got him in the NFC divisional game last year. I'm not overly concerned necessarily by this loss to the Saints. They were right there with them. Brady obviously threw the interception. I think most people, when the Saints were forced to kick that field goal with about a minute and a half left, like, well, Tom Brady's just going to go and lead them to the field goal or the touchdown, and the Bucs are going to win, right? But he obviously didn't see. I believe it was Williams who got him coming over the middle there, and I was really surprised. Buck, he was able to return it all the way for the touchdown. It's about 40 yards or so down the sideline. He wasn't able to be pushed out of bounds or anything like that. So I still think the Bucs are one of the top teams in the NFC. They're going to be there. The defending champions. So I dropped them, I think, 2 spots from the previous ranking. So
yeah, you had them at number 2 last week, so you did drop them 2. On the bright side, though, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did lose to the Saints twice last year in the regular season. They came in, flex on them in the playoffs. So maybe Tom Brady will be 0-4 in the regular season versus the Saints, but 2-0 versus them in the playoffs. Like, we never really know.
Yeah.
But some big trades happened before the NFL trade deadline. One of the biggest ones was Von Miller to the LA Rams, and that's exactly who you have coming in at number 3 are the LA Rams.
Yeah, Rams have been kind of a fixture in my top 5 pretty much all season, and they come in at number 3 right now. I really like this trade for the Rams. They're really going for it, Buck. You see this in different sports, basketball and baseball sometimes. Teams just going all in, putting their chips to the table, and that's exactly what the Rams have done. If you look at their draft for 2022 draft, they have like a 3rd round pick, and I think they have like a 5th round pick, and I think they have a 7th round pick, and like, that's it. They've stockpiled their team with a lot of veteran players, and you got to think Von Miller's bound to see some one-on-ones with that defense, which also contains Aaron Donald and some other guys coming off the edge. So that's going to be a good situation for him. Obviously, he's probably on the back 9 of his career, but he's still able to get around blockers and use power moves and speed moves to get to the quarterback and get to the running back and force fumbles and things like that. So I think this is going to be a team or a move that really invigorates the team, really energizes the team. And they're already 7-1. They've got probably the most energetic coach in football, Sean McVay, with that spiky hair and that bright smile of his. So I think I love this move all around. Sure, they're mortgaging their future a little bit, but they're so close. And when you're that close to a Lombardi, you got to try to reach out and try to grab it.
Yeah, I think I saw the greatest meme ever yesterday once Von Miller was traded, and you mentioned all the picks that the Rams have for the 2022 draft. They basically said, well, we drafted Jared Goff first draft like three years ago, and they're like, never again, give away all of our draft picks right now. And so that's exactly what they are doing here. As Drew says, go Rams in the chat. So Drew, you can go Grams all you want, but I think the Rams are still going to be a first round exit in the playoffs this year. Now, coming off their first loss of the season, you do have the Arizona Cardinals. These are Drew's Arizona Cardinals. We had arguably the best game on Thursday night football ever, but the Arizona Cardinals did come off the loss versus the Green Bay Packers. That's who you do have at number 1. So obviously, you had them flip-flop here. Is there a reason besides the loss that you put Cardinals at number 2?
Well, we were talking about this game last week, and you were all over the Packers. I'll give you full credit for this, Buck. And you asked me who I thought was going to win. I said, well, I just think the Packers are a little bit too shorthanded. I'm going to go with the Cardinals, and that really wasn't a huge factor in this game. I thought Cardinals made some mistakes. Rondale Moore muffed a punt in the first half that led to a Packers touchdown. They were down 10 points at that point, and they really had to kind of rally back in order to get back into this game, and they did a pretty good job of that. I have no idea what happened in that last play of the game. AJ Green was kind of held up in the end zone, and he just stopped moving. It's like he's like, oh, the ball's not coming to me. Oh shit, it is. Oh, he caught it. Game's over. So that was really weird. One of the most bizarre end of game interceptions I've ever seen. So they were that close to being 8-0 and a guaranteed number 1 spot in my rankings. Instead, it goes to the 5th different team that's held the top spot. I still think Cardinals are a good team. They may have to do some different things with their run game, mix it up a bit more as we move forward, but not a lot of concern about this team. I think they're like the Bengals, they're kind of ahead of schedule, and I'm excited what Kyler Murray can do the rest of the way.
Yeah, so a few things that you said here. I mean, so this has been a weird week 8. We've had a lot of injuries, and now we have COVID. Now, let's say when the Packers lose to the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday by 17 points, is going to be it'll be a 35-23 point game there or so. Are you going to give them the benefit of the doubt that their starting quarterback wasn't there and still keep him up at the top 3 spots?
The Packers you're talking about?
Yes, the Packers.
Oh, of course, yeah. Chiefs are a little bit further down. I, for one, am quite excited to see what Jordan Love can do in a regular season NFL game. I'm not giving them the L quite yet. I think he's definitely an athletic kid. He's definitely got some ability. I know he didn't look good in the preseason. I really don't care. I think he can probably do some things against this Chiefs defense that has had its share of struggles this season. Now, if they do fall in this game, this is a game obviously the Chiefs need to have. They can't fall to 4-5. But if the Packers lose but they're competitive, I'll probably drop them maybe a few spots, maybe 3 to 4 spots. But if they get their doors blown off and they lose by 3 or 4 touchdowns, they might find themselves towards more closer towards the bottom of the top 10. Although I don't really like to look at it too much until Tuesday afternoon or so. And then that's when I kind of get into the lab and start writing things down.
Right. So with that being said, it took you a little while to buy into the Arizona Cardinals here. Like I believe it took you to about week 5 or week 6. No, it was week 7 when you finally bumped them up into the number 1 spot, and then the minute you bump them up into that number 1 spot, they lose. So all those people that let's call names here, Beastie Combs, why aren't the Cardinals number 1? As soon as you put them up there, they lose. Did the Cardinals ever deserve that number 1 spot? Let's just be honest here.
I think they did. I'm not going to say they didn't deserve it. They were the longest undefeated team of the season. They did beat some quality opponents. The win against the Rams definitely sticks out to me. I still think Kyler Murray has an excellent chance to win the MVP this season. And for my money, he's probably the most exciting player, possibly along with Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, quarterback anyway, in the NFL. The defense has shown a bit more teeth than I thought it would. But yeah, I think they were probably the best team for a couple weeks. Maybe some people would say 3 or 4 weeks, but I'm just a little bit ticked off, Buck. I had them number 1, I had them number 2 or 3. I took my lumps from Coombs, and then I have them at 1, and he's not here. He can't say, oh, you finally got it right.
Yeah.
So if you want to shout out me in the comments or something, that's fine. But
as soon as the show's over, I'm going to tweet at him and be like, hey, Combs, you suck. Cardinals are back to number 2. Explain yourself now. Or something to that effect, right? But yeah. So at Man Hour Combs is like where you guys can find him. Be sure to haze him in the old Twitter Twitter machine. But as always, Graham, thank you for joining us here on your power rankings. But
Thank you.
do you have some time to talk a little bit of baseball?
Of course, yeah.
How do you feel about the Braves ending it in 6?
I feel pretty good about it. I had a good feeling about it going into the game. Obviously, they had Game 5. It seems like they had it under control. Adam Duvall with that grand slam, and then even when they coughed up that lead, Freddie Freeman with a huge home run. They had a 5-4 lead, but the bullpen, which has been so great, kind of coughed up that lead. But heading into Game 6, I was like, Fried, he's had a couple of rough starts. I think he's going to be really good tonight, and he was money. He got his foot stepped on, or his leg stepped on, an ankle, whatever it was. In
That
the first
kind of
inning.
looked kind of intentional, didn't it?
I'm not going to say that. I know Houston has a bad reputation as far as, pushing the rules of the game, but I won't say that. I think it was an unfortunate play. I thought he was out at first. I saw the second look. He definitely did not touch the bag. So I think that was a good call, but he just gutted it out through 5 more innings. He only threw 74 pitches, I believe.
Yeah.
And, Soler and Swanson and Freeman did the rest of the heavy lifting, 7-0. I'm just so happy for Brian Snitker, 45 years in the Braves organization. And Freddie Freeman, this guy is the Atlanta Braves for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
He's just a class act. I'm just so happy for him. I don't know if he's going to go to a different team or whatever. I know he's going to be a free agent, but I really did enjoy this World Series very much. So I will make no secret that I was rooting against the Houston Astros. I'm by no means an Atlanta Braves fan, but I was kind of pulling for them. And I just think former Blue Jays general manager Alex Anthopoulos did a wonderful job of bringing these guys in. If you think about Duvall, Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, and obviously Soler, who hit those 3 go-ahead home runs in the World Series. So just outstanding work by them. Kansas City Royals, they're going to get things cranked up again. Don't you worry. Once they get close, they'll make some moves to
Hopefully Soler comes
contenders again.
He comes back.
Well, he was hitting under 200 when he got traded. He just
137 when he got traded. Yep. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Now me and Combs were kind of going back and forth a little bit here. I said if this game were going to Game 7, Houston Astros 100% have the advantage. Because they would have won 2 games in a row. The momentum's on their side. The Braves pitched their ace in Game 6. What are your thoughts about that? If this game would have went 7, would have it gone the Astros' way?
Yeah, I'm not so sure I agree with that, Buck. I mean, they would have gone Atlanta, that is, with Ian Anderson, who, for a 23-year-old, has a plethora of playoff experience. Yeah. I actually do think they'd have the pitching advantage there. Whereas Houston, if it did go to a 7th game, I'm not sure who they would necessarily roll out there. If it would be Framber Valdez or Zach Greinke. I'm not really sure who they'd go with. But I think Ian Anderson has the experience that belies his age. And, I get what you're saying with the momentum, but I just think there was no stopping the Braves this year. They just got on an unbelievable roll, and there was just no one who was going to beat them.
Yeah. So one more thing before I let you go. Mr. Buster Posey himself, scheduled to retire tomorrow. What is your best memory of Buster Posey?
Well, the one that sticks out is him, getting blown away at home plate and breaking his leg, unfortunately. Obviously the 3 World Series championships with the Giants, he was a huge part of that. But that, and also him breaking out onto the scene, I think it was 2010. He was the far and away rookie of the year. He was probably the Giants' best player that first season.
Yeah.
So his ability to battle back from that injury, and also that rule changed after that collision. He was such a great player for such a long time that Major League Baseball was like, we have to change this rule because one of the best players in our game is going to miss a significant amount of time. So class act. I think he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt, and just a great player.
All right, and one more thing before we let you go. Way too early prediction. Who is in the World Series next year?
Wow. Okay, let's go with we'll give Coombs' team some love, the White Sox, and we'll have them playing against let's say the Dodgers get back there.
I like your Blue Jays, man. I like the Blue Jays.
Yeah, why didn't I do that? I didn't want to sound like a homer. I'm always getting called a homer.
But Blue Jays are the real deal.
I love it.
I love that.
I love it. I'm going to be having a lot of content for you guys on Jays Journal on the Blue Jays, their off season, things like that. So look for that.
All right, guys. So be sure to follow Graham here on the Twitter machine at Bust Wallace. Just be sure to follow him on Jays Journal as well, and of course Billy Up Sports. So Graham, anything to say before we let you go, man?
Enjoy the football and look forward to the baseball next April.
All right, guys. We'll be right back here on the main hour.
Yeah, the guy's got hands.
He does
The
have
guy's
hands.
got really good hands, and if he develops a chemistry with you, that's going to make what's his name, Marquez Callaway. That's going to make him even more dangerous.
True. I see what you're saying, but besides the big catch and a couple okay seasons in New York, what has Odell Beckham Jr. really done for me? He is the most overrated receiver in the NFL that I've ever seen, my guy.
I don't disagree. I think he's overrated as well. But I just say, look, he's a big target. He's got hands. The guy can stay with, anybody. I just, I don't know. It's something. It's better than what we got. I mean, OBJ's better than Chris Hill, right?
Man Hour Nation brought to you by
guys
Brooks
got
Roofing
me.
and Siding. Contact them at 812-868-7663 or online at brooksroofingin.com. Brooks Roofing and Siding, protection you need when nature strikes.
And welcome back to the Man Hour, guys. Michael Buck has hit the Man Hour. Head over to manhourradio.com and check out the merchandise page, and of course check out the new forum page as well, as we simply just started that, so we're trying to grow the community over there. It's a great chance for you to share other content, share memes, talk stuff, just be a part and grow a family over there at manhourradio.com. So guys, we just talked the NFL Power Rankings with Graham Wallace himself. He does that every Wednesday here at 8:30 East Coast time, and he also is a baseball writer for Jays Journal. He writes about Toronto Blue Jays baseball all Major League Baseball season. He does great work all over there, and we try to retweet everything that he does over there. So guys, coming up here in just a few minutes, we do have Soup Boss himself with some spilled soup. So with the time being here, guys, we're going to open up the floor here for some shop talk. So if you guys want to talk about anything in the chat, go ahead and let me know over here at youtube.com/Man Hour, and we will discuss anything that you guys would like to discuss about. But before we get into that, Shop Talk is brought to you by Skull Candy Headphones. Link is in the description below. Go to skullcandy.com and put the best headphones in your ears your body has ever felt. That's really weird to say, but it's provocative and kind of dangerous to say sometimes, because when I say it and Combs is here and Tori's here, you don't know what they're going to say. Also, if you guys have missed any part of the show whatsoever, you can also find us on iTunes, Spotify, and of course iHeartRadio, or simply head over to youtube.com/manhour. Hit the subscribe button. We do upload the clips each and every day over there at Man Hour Radio. So we do see some new people here in the chat here, and Bill Bates comes in and says they got exposed though. So this was when I believe we were talking about the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Green Bay Packers. And if you guys would listen to the Man Hour, I simply told you how the Green Bay Packers will beat the Arizona Cardinals, and that was to run the ball, and run the ball some more. So exactly, yes, the Arizona Cardinals did get exposed in that Thursday night game versus the Green Bay Packers because of everything that transpired the week before. Devontae Adams was out with COVID, Lazard was out, and all that good stuff. So that just shows you how effective a good running game is, like exactly what like Luke G said last night when he was on the Man Hour as well. Luke G is a very knowledgeable guy, and he knows exactly how to win a lot of football games, even though he is a Detroit Lions fan. But with that being said, it is a special time of night. It is that time that we bring a guy on that knows a little bit about sports, Mr. Soup Boss himself. Soup Boss.
It's a spill soup. Let the boss take the lead. Your predictions are all wrong. It's a spill soup. Your hot takes are bad. Let the soup boss bring it home. Spill soup, spill soup, spill soup, spill soup. Clear the way, the soup boss will lead the way. It's a spill soup. Let's be honest, man, our needs some urgent help. Time for spill soup.
And it is time for some spilled soup with Mr. Soup Boss himself. Soup Boss, how you doing tonight, man? You know, I am always great when I get a chance to actually talk to somebody that knows a little bit about sports, just like myself, unlike Combs and Tori, you know, right?
Well, I noticed that you said that I know a little bit about sports, but then the intro song there, it seems like I've got a lot more knowledge than you're willing to say. So I'm glad you put it in the song at least.
Yeah. Honestly, it goes Soup Boss way up here, and then Buck, Combs, and then Tori. So yeah, you are hands and feet.
Tori.
Yeah.
Man, Tori can't even defend himself right now. Combs is always trying to defend himself, even when he's not involved. So I completely get that. But man, poor Tori.
Yeah. So
that's okay.
So tell
Packers fan.
tell people what Soup Boss or Spilled Soup is all about.
Yeah, so normally what I'm doing here with Spilled Soup is coming on and trying to bring in some a little debate or to contradict the points of some of my fellow folks here on the Man Hour Nation. That's what I'm normally doing. This past week, though, I've been watching the World Series. I actually got to be able to do a lot of the broadcasts and some of the games with Combs. So I haven't been able to dive into as many of the Man Hour information. But there's plenty of stuff in the sports world that I think maybe, especially to our viewers, that we need to bring up and talk about a little bit with issues I might have with them and some committees and everything like that. But normally that's all it is. It's me just trying to bring in some information, bring in maybe suggestions, get people to kind of understand data, like those that think just, making sure your quarterback sit for a whole season is somehow going to be better for them than having them start season one, which I still ruled the day on that one, Buck.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you brought some stats that basically favored your opinion there, but looking at it now, when Zach Wilson, misses a game, and Mike White comes in and destroys the league, he sat a year and he comes in and wins his first game. So
he sat a year. He sat like 4 years.
It's still
so he's not allowed to be a part of the conversation.
Okay.
No one has tape on the guy. People literally thought Mike White was a fake name. They were like, "This is obviously a name the NFL just made up just to bring in a guy." I mean, the Jets literally pulled a Bill Belichick move. He was just like, "Who's this guy? What? Who are they? What? They didn't actually go to college. What grocery store did he work at?" And so, of course, he threw for 400 yards. Now that people have some film, we'll see what next week looks like.
Yeah,
but
we
good
will
game
see.
by him for sure.
All right, so what do you want to talk about first tonight?
Yeah, let's start it off. Let's we won't go right after the fan base, especially with a lot of our fans. Let's get them on our side a little bit here. Let's start with the College Football Committee. I know there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and once again, shockingly, the NCAA football has found themselves in the middle of controversy. This just seems like a repeat story for a good couple decades now, that part of me is starting to wonder maybe we're the fools in the situation, as we realize we keep talking about them year in and year out. But I'm not going to dive into that controversy just yet. We're going to just talk about their latest rankings that came out and how that upset so many fans and what they're doing to allow that sense of anger and frustration to come out. And I'm sure, Buck, you saw some of the rankings that came out and people that were frustrated. You had people mad because Oklahoma wasn't in the top 4, even though they're undefeated. You had people that were ticked off that Cincinnati was so much lower than their other ranking. And just a lot of frustration top to bottom on that. And the reason there's a lot of frustration outside the elements of like OU and Cincinnati being undefeated is that the playoff rankings by the NCAA football that now are different than the rankings by the NCAA football. How do you allow your playoff ranking to suddenly supersede and become something that's more important than your constant seeding of the teams? If you have Cincinnati number 2 in your league rankings that you plaster on the scoreboard when Cincinnati plays someone and they're ranked number 2 on their little thing, and if they get beat, let's say on an away turf, what happens? The fans rush the crowd. They don't care if they're going to get fined right now with COVID and everything like that and all the protocols, and they're going to rush the field. And what will those fans say? We beat the number 2 out of that team. I mean, heck, we saw that with Purdue saying it about Penn State. We beat the number 2 out of that team. That's what's so important. And then they get to these college playoff rankings and they're like, hey guys, you know that number 2? Yeah, no, that's really just a 5. Don't worry about it. It's really not that important. And it makes absolutely no sense. So people are sitting here going, what's more important? Are the rankings important? Are the playoff elements important? Why are they different? And it all comes down to this. They start the season with standards of rankings when the teams haven't even played. And one of the biggest factors in this frustration is how a team like Alabama, who, yes, is an extremely successful team, has a ton of success, one of the greatest, if not the greatest college football coach of all time, and yet they're not on par per se with a normal season for them. Still a team in a success rate this season that most fans would love to have out of their own college football team. I'm a Longhorns fan. Just ask me how I'm feeling about this season. But with that said, you're going to sit here and have this team come in ranked super high, lose a game against an unranked team, which is now ranked because they beat a high-ranked Alabama team, and have no real challenge on their schedule, and yet they're inside the playoff rankings, whereas other teams are not, that are, undefeated in every way, shape, or form. And what it comes down to is this. When you start the season with your teams ranked, when they haven't even played a game, when they haven't played serious competition, and you try to tell the world this is how good these teams are, but you yourself have never even seen them, and then you shift how you're grading them now for a playoff situation and negate all the rankings, you're not only a hypocritical system or group or whatever the heck you want to call the NCAA, but you just are flat out idiotic. And I swear you're doing this on purpose in order just to get people like me to get on shows and just to give you crap. So here's my solution. It's this simple. Stop ranking the teams before the season starts. In fact, stop ranking the teams after week 1. Stop ranking the teams after week 2. Hell, why don't we go to about week 5, 6, 7, and I don't know, rank the teams for the first time when you bring out your playoff rankings and let that be the definitive measure. Nonetheless, there will still be people that are ticked off, but why the heck do you run a system in which you allow one ranking to be over here, but it makes no sense in terms of your ranking over here, which this ranking determines who gets a chance to go for the championship. So you're sitting here telling me Cincinnati, you're number 2, but you're not going to have a chance to be able to go win the championship if the season ended right now. Man, that really just sounds like a system that Combs would pretty much put together, and it just makes no sense. So shame on you, NCAA, for having this system. Just get to the quick fix. It's so simple. Stop the preseason rankings. Stop the early season rankings. Let this week be the first time you come out in rankings, and let the field of work be the judge in terms to how good these teams actually are or are not. What do you think, Buck?
Yeah, I actually think that is a great idea. I mean, like obviously, like we put these rankings after the ESPN and the AP and the coaches poll, right? They put those out there simply because of every reason that like you just said. When we have number 2 Cincinnati playing number 8 Texas, that game is going to sell more tickets because of a top 10 matchup, right? And if we don't have the rankings till it's college football week 10, isn't it? So like,
like 9.
Yeah. So like, if we wouldn't have rankings till like week 9, how would we judge how big those games are? How would you get a T-Mobile to sponsor the Alabama versus Oregon game, right? It just it'd be a very, very hard sell. Now, to what you're saying about the college football playoff ranking here moving forward, let's talk about Cincinnati. Cincinnati is like number 2 or number 3 on every poll that I have seen for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Now, when the college football playoff rankings come out like that, they're sitting at number 6. The 5 teams above them are Georgia, Alabama, Michigan State, Oregon, and Ohio State. What is one thing that those 5 teams have that Cincinnati doesn't have? They have a fan base that travels and the big name behind them, like the Big 10, the Big 12, the SEC. That is the only thing that the Cincinnati Bearcats do not have that those other 5 teams don't. And let's just be honest, the college football playoff is here to sell money, to sell tickets, to make money off of those games. And how do you get money? You put Ohio State up there. You put Oregon up there. You put Alabama up there. Has Alabama ever not made the college playoff?
No.
I don't think so.
Not.
Why? Because they had the best fan base out there, or like they had the biggest fan base that travels everywhere.
So you're 100% correct, but what you're selling is a system that says it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter what you do with the schedule in front of you. It will never matter because you're not one of the big schools. But the last time I checked, Cincinnati plays in the same division as all the rest of those schools. Cincinnati didn't say, hey, can you make sure Ohio State and Alabama and Georgia are not on our schedule? That's not the element of what happens. And think about the other sport in this league, which comes in basketball, March Madness. How crazy do people get, though, when the Cinderella team or the low seed team upsets the higher seed team?
Right.
They're missing a huge opportunity. I know football's different. You can't play it every day or every other day. I get that. But if you're going to sit here and never let the Boise State, the Cincinnati, the Southern Florida, any of these teams that are showing value and have gone into then bowl games and have upset the big teams, and then you go, dang, that would have been really good if it was a playoff. You're saying they're going where the money is. I'm saying they're missing the opportunity of where more money is. Let these lower name teams in there for the chance at the upset. Sure, you're going to get in Alabama that will probably then meet up with a Cincinnati. People go, holy crap, they just steamrolled them 63-10. But I'm sorry, we've seen some of these big name schools fight each other, and it ends up being 63-10, and it ends up being a blowout too. So it's not like anything's guaranteed that every top school playing each other is going to be a great game. Sometimes they're boring as hell because you expect so much out of it. But a chance for a Cincinnati or a Southern Florida or a Boise State to go out there and potentially beat an OU, beat an Ohio State, beat an Oregon, hell yeah, I'm going to tune in for that. And if they win and go on to the next round, how many people are going to get behind them just like they do in NCAA basketball with March Madness? To me, Stop ranking them so early if you're not going to phase it on that. I get that, but at some point you're getting in week 4 or 5. If your teams are undefeated and you're going against a team that's not undefeated, you're looking for the upset based on the record, and then expand the playoff to 8. Everyone has said it. I don't understand why they suddenly were like, we're going to look at 16 or 20 teams. It was like, whoa, pump the brakes. You barely would go to 4, and then you fought, and then you're like, hey, we're going to look at 20, 24 teams. 8. Make it 8. It's so simple. Make it 8. You keep it even. It doesn't go too long, and at the same time, you let the Cincinnati's and the Wake Forests and the Boise States and all of them try to get their shot. And when you get the upset, that's going to bring in just as much rankings and money. And not only that, you're probably then going to gain more wealth. Just my opinion.
Yeah. So also on the flip side of everything that you're saying, pretty much after 8 teams, like the top 8 to like 2 or 3, they're usually pretty close in competition. Like you can flip flop them like the way. Usually after that, there's pretty big fall off 9 times out of 10 throughout the season. But do you mind if I go out on a limb, like a little bit here, Soup Boss?
I mean, you can go out on a limb. I'll let you know whether or not it's dumb or
so
not.
I want to go out on this on this limb, and I'm going to jump on it, and hopefully it doesn't break. The college football rankings right now, this is the beginning of the end of college football as we know it because of these rankings right here. Because teams like Cincinnati, teams like Wake Forest, teams like let's put Auburn up there. Why do we need the NCAA? Why do we need the college football committee to tell us who are the top 6 teams in the league? Blow away the NCAA, blow away the college football rankings, make a mega conference or
they already are doing that.
Restructure everything to where you can have a 16-team playoff. Do it like they do in Division II. They have I believe it's 8 divisions, top 2 from each division make the playoffs. Bada bing, bada boom. There is your fix. No need for NCAA. No need for all these conferences. Make a division. Actually have divisions make sense. When you're in the Northeast, you weren't flying from bumfuck West Virginia to like Arizona. That makes 0 sense to me whatsoever, but we digress on that. But college football power rankings, these rankings right here will be the doom of the NCAA because of everything that we saw this week.
Well, we're already seeing the demise of it because you've got SEC already making themselves with their poll for Texas and Oklahoma. Yep. You're already seeing that. You're seeing other conferences getting ready to react. The Big 12 is the only one that was like, now we're going to hold our ground and try to find some teams to get back to it. But I'm sorry to say, Big 12, the rest of the country is about to jump into some different conferences. And that's where I agree with you. Now, at this point, make it where you have, if the SEC are the power schools, you call it the power division. If the other school, like if you got the Northeast or something like that, you call it the Northeast. Like something simple where you have them all go together. Heck, let's do it 4 major conferences in a tournament style. And then why not the top team from each tournament then go into a 4-team playoff? See, Buck, we need to be running this. We've got the money thought processes. NCAA is dead. We've got the money coming in.
Yeah, like, why not do a conference tournament? That's your regional East bracket, your Midwest bracket. We're right there's your March Madness. You have 4 conferences. You figure out how many teams you want. Either have the top 8, top 16, or something. Like I don't really care. Decide your champion. Yeah, that's a perfect idea. You want to play more games, you want to make more money, that's how you do it. Cut out all these when like Alabama plays like the Citadel, the school of the blind and Tulane, like it doesn't matter. Throw that crap out of there.
The blind.
Yeah. So
hey, they need their equipment, man. If Alabama wants to pay money, but let that be a preseason, like the springtime, like when they're playing against each other, like the OU playing against, they got their whites and reds on.
Yeah.
That stadium almost fills up. Why not you get it to the point where you have those, and instead of that going towards your record, let that be like a preseason game. Have those really lower schools come in. You still pay them, but then you get to warm up your team, and you don't get to be like, that's a notch in our belt. That's a victory on the season. No crap. And then when you get those big upsets that have happened once a decade, like the Appalachian State over Michigan, it's still big, but you're not sitting there letting that completely destroy or demand a change in, record for them. Because when Appalachian State won that game, all of a sudden they got vaulted into like higher rankings and stuff, and people were like, "Oh." And then they started losing. People were like, we don't know what happened. Well, they had a really good single game. They went after the big target. They put everything out in the field, and they rolled the dice, and 1 out of 100, they won. That's what happened. Let's stop making this some reactionary thing. But anyways, I think we beat that one up. I think you and I already have the plan.
Season's already fixed.
People were trying to call me. I'm pretty sure that was NCAA trying to get us to partner with them, but we're not doing that. We're doing it on our own. My second item for Spilled Soup here tonight, and I only have the 2 because I knew I'd kind of talk with you a little bit longer. And this one goes out to all the fans. This one goes out to all the fans of baseball. So, Combs, you're going to probably listen to this and give me a bunch of crap. I know a lot of people on Soup are going to give me a bunch of crap. I know just a lot of people in general, even that aren't hardcore baseball fans, are going to give me a bunch of crap. But listen to me. The Houston Astros making it to the World Series just because they didn't win does not mean they suck. And in fact, here's the thing. They're better than your team. Read and weep. They're better than your team. Stop parading with the fact that the Astros lost the World Series as if it's some type of victory. Do you understand how pathetic it looks to sit here and go, the Astros, who are not a rival of my team, who had nothing to do with taking, in changing the format or the end result of my team, even the teams that they defeated in the playoffs, who actually have some type of information that they could, or a mindset where they could have that. But nonetheless, that does not mean that the Astros are just this god-awful, crappy team or anything negative because they lost in the World Series. I hate to break this to the fans who continue to put this big, huge chip on their shoulder and act like they are the fans from God, and every player that's on their team is a fan of God or a player of God, and that they are perfect and that their teams do nothing wrong and that their teams have never cheated and there's never been anything they've done. All of your teams have cheated. All of your players have done something dumb. You want to know why? Because I sit around and I've talked to pro athletes and I've played semi-pro sports and I've played Little League Baseball, where guess what? We were taught then how to steal signs in Little League Baseball, Little League World Series. You do everything you can to get an advantage until you get caught. Yep. The Houston Astros got caught. If the Houston Astros had then, for the last 2 seasons, had plummeted to obscurity, had been sitting in the realms of the Pittsburgh Pirates type of team, then yes, we'd have every reason to say, see, nothing but those trash cans. They're no good. Folks, they made it to the World Series. Last year, under a ton of scrutiny, they made it to the ALCS and were 1 game away from the World Series as they got to Game 7. Cut it out. Your jealousy and your self infatuation with how much you think that you're a super mega fan because you don't root for the Houston Astros and they're just a piece of crap. It looks crappy on you. You know what looks good? The Houston Astros look good because they are good. Yes, they cheated. Did it probably help them get over a little bit of a hump to win the World Series? Maybe. But at the end of the day, you took it away. They still got to the World Series. They've still gotten to the ALCS. Enough's enough. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, when you all are parading around like, oh, it's going to be pure and all this crap and everything, ask a Pittsburgh Pirate fan if they would like to go to the NLCS just once. Hell, how much that city would just absolutely love it if they could get to the World Series just once. And you know what? If someone said, yeah, but they're not that good, they would say, excuse me? Do you want to know what's not good? The 30 years that team went through and played the sport before they finally got to the World Series. The Astros did not fall off the face of the earth. They didn't become a losing team. They didn't struggle. And in fact, they showed why they were still a stellar team and still deserved to get to the World Series the year they did and this year. You're going to have to get over it. Wipe the tears away. Pull up your big boy pants and just realize that the Houston Astros are a good team. And just because they got caught cheating doesn't mean that your team is any better.
Yeah,
What do you think, Buck?
Well, I mean, if you want to go that route, I know several Major League Baseball players themselves, and the reason why they're not in the league right now is because they refuse to cheat. They refuse to put that needle in their butt. They refuse to do this, and this. Right? To play 162 games in a season, you have to have some type of cheating involved, whether it's putting the extra bag on your wrist to make your fingers extra sticky, whether it's putting pine tar 2 up in the bat, whether it's putting the needle in your butt. There is some type of cheating every sport out there. If you are not playing in the gray area in any sport, you are not making it to the highest level. That's just the way it is. I don't care who you are playing in the gray area.
Bad teams that don't do well, guess what? They're still doing it. They just can't find a way to gain to get an advantage, because guess what? At the end of the day, you still have to play the game. You still have to get the runs. You still have to get the touchdowns and score the buckets. You can find ways to try to give you an advantage, but it still doesn't mean you're good.
Right.
And you still have to win. All the teams are doing it.
Yeah, and on the flip side, exactly what I said, we were taught at a very young age, if the catcher isn't holding the signs up in his in his crotch, you're saying their first name, you're saying their second name, you're clapping, you are getting their attention.
Everything.
Somehow, some
clapping,
way.
clicking, whistling. Right. I caught my whole life, and I had to learn at a young age how to throw fake signs or reset signs. Why? Because I was taught that the players in second base were trying to steal the signs from me. Yeah. And I remember being very young and going, are they allowed to do that? And the coach is going, well, no, but if they can do it, they're going to do it. And so are we. It's just that's just the mentality of what it is. But you still have to compete to win. And to go back to what you said about, putting the needle in the bud and all that type of stuff and everything like that. I get there are some players that don't play or got kind of banned out, or you look at some players who started to plummet because they didn't get through certain things. But you said like 162 games. I'll give you even all sports where there's only 16 games with, for instance, the NFL. Right. Jerry Rice trashed the New England Patriots. Nothing but cheaters, taking an advantage, horrible individuals. This is considered by many to be the greatest wide receiver ever in the game. Did you know that a little bit before Jerry Rice's career started, Stickum was banned by the NFL? But do you know who still used Stickum on his hands through almost his whole career? That's Jerry Rice. So when you sit there and try to act like you're holier than thou because you're either an athlete who you think you didn't cheat, or you're a fan base that thinks that you got screwed and therefore your team is completely holy and they would never do anything, you're lying to yourself. You're cheating in some way. Maybe your system isn't as intricate as a video stream in a trash can, or maybe it's something where you're trying to keep it on the radar. And here's the thing, there's a lot of cheating elements that happen in sports that we never find out. Why? Because teams after a while realize it's not helping them win. So they try to do something different. And because it didn't help them win, no one really cares at the end of the day.
Right. So also, to add to your point, I am a coach, and I watch other coaches signal their signs in to the players, so I know when they do when they do this, they're going to run a freaking
horrible person.
Yeah, but I am giving my players all the advantage. I mean, it is not my fault that you're making your signs blatantly obvious. Hey, I wonder what they're going to run. Come on, no.
My favorite one used to be the belt. They look like they're stretching their belt, and I'd be like, look at the pitcher, and I'd be like, it's going to be a bunt. And we would always throw them out, and they'd be like, how did you know? You're stealing our signs. No, you're an idiot. You're making it far too obvious. Okay.
So, like I said, when you use the technology to your advantage, awesome. But the only reason why people are mad about the Houston Astros is because they got caught and their team didn't in the end. Let's just be honest.
That's true.
You're exactly right. All right, guys, so that is going to be it for Soup Boss tonight. Be sure to join Soup Boss and myself every Wednesday at 9 p.m. East Coast time, 8 p.m. Central time. So, Soup, as always, thank you for joining us. Plug your Spilled Soup group here.
Yeah, for sure. The Spilled Soup group that we have every Wednesday, as Buck was saying, coming in, being able to trash some of the things that are brought up here on the show. Buck got free this week, so he didn't have to hear me attack him at all. But be here every single Wednesday, to be able to hear me do that. And if you want to join some great debate on sports without the hate, without the vulgarity, without attacking one another that you get all over Facebook, Sports Soup is the place to come. We've built a huge community over 4 years, well over 1,000 people, which doesn't sound like a lot, but there's a lot of people that engage with one another. There's no cursing, there's no politics, there's no racism or anything like that. It's just sports debate. It's sports fans that get excited about stuff, and we get to have a great time as a family. So join Sports Soup on Facebook and come here every Wednesday night for a little bit of Spilled Soup.
All right, guys, we'll be right back.